sometimes when a story breaks like this, it's what's the best way to describe it? It's funny, but at the same time, living in the UK and having to live with this government, obviously it was bound to happen sooner or later. But as I have been saying since really the lead up to this year, and even this year, I pretty much say it every single video now, the government, especially this year, is going to do every single thing it possibly can to try and prove that Brexit is some sort of, a success, or that it is going all well and that there's no problems here. Just, avert your, ignore the man behind the curtain, as they say in The Wizard of Oz. But it's not unusual that we will probably see future not only foreign papers take to the truth-telling that we need in this country, but probably also foreign diplomats as well. And it's not too surprising, because that's exactly what one has just done recently. So before we get into say what she had to say on this, please do remember to hit the like and share button. And also down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And thank you very much to all the people who do support me that way. So, on with this. So, today's article comes from the New European. And of course, French diplomat brands Boris Johnson a liar who will blame Brexit costs on COVID. Of course he will. This is what we were saying all last year a number of times as well, that COVID has come along in a perfect time for the Brexiteers, for them to be able to just sweep it under the rug. And, the rug might be a bit more, bouncy than usual, but, it's just COVID. It's all right. It'll smooth out eventually. However, it won't be the case, because those bumps aren't because of COVID, well, they're because of Brexit. So, Boris Johnson is an unrepentant and an inventive liar. What a surprise. What a surprise. Couldn't agree more. Who is not subject to the same rules as others. A former French diplomat to the UK has said in her new book. Sylvia Berman, the French ambassador to the UK during the Brexit vote, also claimed Brexiteers were consumed with a hatred for Germany and were gripped by a myth that they liberated Europe on their own during World War II. Again, can't agree more there. Berman described Brexit as a triumph of emotion over reason. Again, spot on. It was exactly that. Every single argument you ever see or even hear from the Brexiteers was one driven by pure emotion. That's why you heard this whole phrases of, quote, take back control, or, the whole thing, the whole lie about the NHS. It was a very, very simple, very easy ruse, because people had, strong feelings about these types of things. So it was easy for them to be manipulated on this. And as I have said numerous times, sooner or later, these people who did vote for Brexit, sooner or later will see that, yeah, it was a dumb idea to do. And that they were conned. And eventually, sooner or later, we will go through this entire grieving process. Like I say, the full effects of Brexit are now being somewhat hampered by COVID, because, again, we aren't going to be seeing the levels that we normally would do. But sooner or later, those will happen. As we've said before, people in services are going to come out of furlough or out of lockdown and go, okay, where's my business? And they ain't going to be doing it, because they don't have those same rules that they used to trade by anymore. The food and drink corporations in the UK that had, customers in the EU aren't going to be able to supply them anymore in the hospitality sectors like they used to anymore, which will have a massive knock-on effect. So anyway, she continues, or it continues, shall we say. A triumph of emotion over reason, and won by a campaign full of lies, in which negative attitudes such as migration were exploited by figures such as Johnson and Michael Gove. Again, 110% correct there. The ambassador to the UK from 2014 to 2017, Berman is one of the most senior diplomats in the French diplomatic service to attack the UK government's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, which she said was one of the worst in the world, alongside Donald Trump and Bolsonaro in Brazil. She predicted Johnson would seek to use COVID to mask the true cost of Brexit on the UK economy. Again, nothing new there, but we've said that before, and even Brexiteers themselves are using that argument right now, as I'm probably doing this video, to try and convince themselves that, you know, Brexit's going all right, you know, it's fine, you know. Again, just don't look at the man behind the curtain. He's slowly dying, but don't worry, he's fine. He's just got teething problems, you know. So, Johnson, she says, comes from an Etonian and Oxford University class that believes they are entitled to use language to provoke, describing him as intelligent and charming. He uses lies to embellish reality as just a game and as an instrument for power to justify the means. He has absolutely no rules. Completely 100% agree there with her on that as well. In her book Goodbye Britannia, Berman describes the psyche that led to Brexit. She describes the partisans of Brexit as reciting a history which the UK is never defeated and never invaded. She suggests a country that considers it single-handedly won the Second World War, liberating the continent and constantly deserving of gratitude. Again, can't falter for that. We see constantly, constantly in the comments of past, of down below my videos and certainly other videos, there will be someone somewhere who alludes to the fact of, quote, we can stand alone. And again, that comes from the great myth that, you know, we somehow single-handedly won World War II. Again, we didn't. So she referencing more than 22 million Russians who died in the Second World War. She says, this does not disturb the discourse of the Brexiteers who peddle the myth that the UK liberated Europe alone and needs no one. She said that France had a great debt of gratitude to the British, but that it was, quote, right to remember that they were not alone, and you cannot live with a history that just stopped in June of 1944. Completely correct. Just as to many Brexiteers, the Brexit vote, that morning of the Brexit vote, that has somehow been enshrined in stone, and we are not allowed to revisit it. We are not even allowed to ask questions of what actually leaving the European Union means. And as I've said, if you took every single member of that vote who voted to leave in the UK and then put to them a questionnaire of, okay, what type of Brexit do you want? There wouldn't have been a consensus. There would not have been a consensus. In fact, I'm very tempted to believe that if you took all the people who voted to leave, I'm pretty sure you would have got a very, very soft Brexit. I think you would have probably ended up with a Britain that wasn't in the European Parliament, that had stayed definitely in the single market and customs union. But again, that wasn't on the Tory right-wing agenda. She also claimed that David Cameron did not take the threat of losing the Brexit referendum seriously, and described the defeat as the first signs of populism taking hold of the government in Europe. Again, 100% correct there. In the books, she asks how this country, whose influence has been decisive in Brussels, which incessantly rolled out the red carpet for the French entrepreneurs, and which Xi Jinping had elected in October of 2015 as the gateway to Europe, at the dawn of a golden period. How has it undertaken this now to scuttle itself? Which is completely true. We did completely try and poach new entrepreneurs to come to the UK from Europe. That's not going to happen now because we're not in the European Union. Those rules do not apply now. So entrepreneurs can't come and invest in this country as easily as they used to, or bring business over as easily as they used to. In fact, as many have said, it is now probably very unrisky, a very risky venture to now invest in the UK if you've got a business that is in Europe as well. So she predicted that Boris Johnson's temptation will be to hide the bill for Brexit under the COVID carpet, currently valued at more than 200 billion for 2020, which is almost as much as the United Kingdom's total contribution to the European Union since its accession in 1973, which was 215 billion. She said that it was inevitable that the UK will struggle now to find influence outside the EU, and has a Scottish independence referendum hanging over its head. She believed that the EU would feel obliged to open talks with Scotland in the event of a referendum to vote to leave the UK, but it is not the official EU position, partly due to pressure from Spain, and Madrid fears the knock-on impact among the Catalonian separatists if an independent Scotland was allowed to join the EU. So, again, I can't disagree with her really there, but, that's what I've been pretty much saying, since the new year and before. This government will do every single thing it can possibly do to try and downplay the effects of Brexit and blame it on the coronavirus, and will go out of its way to do so. In fact, you've just got a proof of just how much they're eager to do that. They've put David Frost, of all people, in charge of renegotiating the Northern Irish Protocol. But again, that ain't going to happen. In fact, it's very likely that Northern Ireland Protocol will stay, and unfortunately, I do fear what that will mean for, peace in Northern Ireland. It is very, very worrying times over there for a lot of people. And a lot of people have said very clearly they do not want to go back to that troubled period. So I think that's all I can say really. But it's depressing sometimes to end on such a sour note. But unfortunately, in cases like this, that's what we have to do. Unfortunately, sometimes. But as always, please do remember to hit that like and share button on your way out. And of course, down below, there's a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.